Meantime, we are joined now by the Deputy Mayor. New York City is known for being the financial capital of the world and now wants to attract the world's top engineers, unveiling a plan this morning to create a private research facility as part of a long-term economic strategy. So the city's Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, Bob Steele, made the announcement. He's here with us live. And we, of course, have to disclose, as you well know, that New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg is the founder and majority owner of Bloomberg LP, which owns this network, if you hadn't guessed that by the name of it in the first place. But meantime, this announcement that you made today, talk to me about the kind of companies and kind of jobs you're trying to create here in New York.
Well, Margaret, first of all, thanks for inviting me to be with you today. It's a pleasure. I think that when you look at New York, the question is, as we think about the right jobs and the right industries for the future, that really we have a lot of strengths in New York. But if you look across the spectrum, one of the areas where we could be stronger is in the area of science and engineering. And so what we've done is to think about what are the encouragements that New York City can provide to have more science and engineering here in New York. And the idea is the academics spin out the opportunities in the businesses. And so what we've tried to do is to issue a request of expression of interest so that we can hear back from universities as to what they might wish to have in order to be here in New York.
So an offshoot of a university to help create some sort of innovation hub. So what kind of companies, what kind of corporate interest have you seen? I know in the press release that was issued, Google was referenced along with a few other firms.
Well, we made a speech this morning at Google to talk about this and lay out these ideas. And longer term, I think we believe that we're not going to predict who the winners are. For the city, it's a matter of creating the right environment so that companies can grow and we can see what does surface. And that's the whole idea of this expression of interest, is to invite universities to tell us what they might be interested in. And so the way it works is we issue this expression of interest, and we'll hear back from universities as to what they might like to have here, and then we'll try to sort that out.
So what are some of the financial incentives? It's well known it's very high cost of living here in New York. It's a high cost of doing business.
Well, I think that it's a matter of value. It might be more expensive, but our story is that you get more in New York, too. And so when we talk to universities that might want to be here for this expression of interest for this proposal, we, the city, are willing to consider contributing land. We're talked about specific areas. We're also willing to consider capital, whatever it takes. But I think it's a bit early to prejudge what will be the right magnet for people to want to be here. In terms of businesses, we're seeing good interest. Today, New York City is the second largest source of venture capital investment, passing Boston. And people don't realize that. And so it's really a matter of creating the right environment. And New York is the largest college town in America with over 600,000 college students. People don't realize that. And these ingredients of students and important research institutions are what create the environment for the companies and the industries of the future.
So what will this do in terms of your hopes for job creation and perhaps contributing to closing some of the financial pressures on the city?
Well, I think that some of these things with regard to science and engineering are really longer term perspectives.
Okay.
So that's the reality with regard to these proposals. But having said that, we're focused, and the mayor said last week in his speech that jobs are issue number 1, 2, and 3. And we're doing a lot and all that we can in New York to basically match skills with opportunities. And already in the job training area, we're doing all we can. And this year we'll have 25 to 30,000 people that we will help get jobs in New York. And our goal is to do even more. And the mayor referenced that in his speech last week.
Right. And that speech that you're referencing was here in New York City, but it's really addressing the national economic and political crisis as the mayor saw it. And when it came to job growth, he was saying that, they created, 55,000 private sector jobs here in October of '09. But he pointed out that none of the growth came from Wall Street. This is still known as the financial capital of the world, but you're not seeing as much contribution to growth?
Well, I think it's good news and different news. The good news is that we have a very diversified economy in New York. And while people know that financial services is a cornerstone of the economy, that we have over a dozen industries that generate over 100,000 jobs. And so this diversity, we know fashion, we know retail, we know communications, we know high tech, that basically New York is now the largest provider of jobs in the high tech area. And so people don't realize that. And while financial services might have been slower to recover, there are lots of other parts of the economy that are buoyant and basically creating jobs.
Talk to me, if you would, about the reality of the financial health of the city. We had the Lieutenant Governor of New York State on, Richard Ravitch, yesterday, and he was saying from the state perspective, the budget deficit is actually far worse than what's reported. He said $14 billion from the numbers that he had run. What does that mean for the city? Are you expecting less financial contribution from the state?
Well, I think that the governor-elect hasn't taken office, so I think it's a bit early to prejudge exactly what the engagement will be with the state.
Well, we'll know better February 1st, right, when he has to present that budget proposal.
Exactly. So I think it's a bit early. Let's just say that there's no question that there are headwinds for the economy, and that we're basically dealing with some of the after effects of the tougher financial conditions of the last couple of years. And the mayor, I think the good news is that we've basically run the city conservatively. We've built up resources over the last few years which were stronger, and today we're working through this. But there's no question we'll have to do with less. We'll have to make choices and make decisions to focus the money that we do have to spend on key important initiatives.
In terms of doing more with less, we ran a poll here at Bloomberg that said 70% of Americans would like to see Wall Street bonuses just completely wiped out for firms that accepted bailout money. How important are those contributions in terms of tax revenue on the bonus payouts, which are expected to be less this year?
Well, this is an important industry for the city, and there's no question that's the case. It's less than 20% of the employment, but it's a higher percentage of the overall economy, and with the bonuses being an important part of that. And so I think all we can do is to have a diversified economy, focus on making it as broad as it possibly can, and that'll be how it unfolds. You
were inside the boardrooms in so many levels during the worst of the financial crisis, so you had such a direct role in trying to craft a way out. Looking at a fiscal crisis, really, on so many states and so many municipalities, which one's harder? Which one's more difficult?
Well, these are all challenging things. I think that when you look at New York City government, we're really close to the issues, and we don't have as much flexibility. We can't print money, and so we're going to run a balanced budget,
right.
And so we're going to have to make decisions. And in a way, that discipline is kind of a positive thing, so that we're going to make the choices we have to make. And I think a key issue that you alluded to is to run the government as efficiently as we can. And I think if you did a poll and asked the citizens what they'd like us to run their government as efficiently and as effectively as we possibly can.
But in some ways, is that being forced to take hard medicine there with having to have a balanced budget and the like, or even having the option of a bankruptcy out there? Is that almost helpful because you don't have that at the state level, which is what the lieutenant governor was saying it was harder to get people to make tough choices? Well,
the good news is that we have a strong credit rating for New York City, and that, as I said, the mayor has been very prudent and vigilant with regard to the financial position of the city. So as a result, we have a bit more flexibility than others, but we are going to have to make hard choices and manage to our budget and make the decisions we need to make. And the great thing is the mayor, as he alluded to in his speech last week, leadership is a key issue, and I think we're in a great position.
Well, we will see just which firms and which universities come through with some expressions of interest.
Great.
Good luck with that. Thank you so much for coming on InBusiness.